The sleek alien vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere on a clear Tuesday morning. Its metallic surface gleamed in the sunlight as it landed with perfect precision on the wide lawn before the United Nations building in New York. Crowds gathered behind hastily erected barriers, their faces showing a mixture of fear and wonder. Captain Dae-Hyun Kim stood at attention, beside the other chosen representatives of Earth. As former commander of the International Space Station and respected diplomat, he had been selected to lead humanity's first official contact with alien life. He straightened his uniform and tried to calm his racing heart. "They're opening," whispered Subin, the linguist standing beside him. A section of the alien craft's hull slid aside, revealing a ramp that extended to touch the grass. Down this ramp came 5 beings of different shapes and colors. Leading them was a tall, slender creature with pearlescent skin and 4 arms, dressed in flowing robes covered with intricate patterns. "I am Grand Counselor Marixus of the Galactic Council," the being announced. Its voice somehow understood by all present, despite not moving anything resembling a mouth. "We have observed your species for 3 of your centuries and have determined Earth is now ready for first contact evaluation." Cameras flashed and reporters pushed against the barriers as Dae-Hyun stepped forward and bowed. "On behalf of all humanity, we welcome you to Earth. We are honored by your presence and eager to join the galactic community." Several of the aliens made strange sounds that the humans would later learn was laughter. "How quaint," said another alien, this one with green scales and eyes that glowed yellow. They already assume they will be joining. Dae-Hyun felt his face grow hot, but maintained his diplomatic smile. "We have prepared a tour of our greatest achievements and technologies. We would be pleased to show you." Over the next 3 days, Earth's representatives led the council members through research facilities, cultural centers, and historical sites. They demonstrated computer technology, medical advances, and space exploration capabilities. At each stop, the aliens seemed more amused than impressed. During a presentation on quantum computing at MIT, the green-scaled alien interrupted. "This is childishly simple. Our youngest learn more advanced principles in their sleep training." At the Large Hadron Collider, the 4-armed Marixus sighed loudly. "You've barely scratched the surface of understanding matter. How disappointing." The final day, when the council members gathered in the UN General Assembly Hall, Dae-Hyun's optimism had faded. He watched as the aliens conferred among themselves, speaking in sounds and colors that human senses couldn't fully perceive. Finally, Marixus addressed the assembled world leaders and press. "The Galactic Council has reached its decision. Earth will be granted observational status only." "What does that mean exactly?" asked the Secretary General. "It means you may observe council proceedings through quarterly data packages we will provide. You will not have voting rights. You will not have access to advanced technology. You will not be permitted to establish colonies beyond your solar system. You will not be allowed to trade with other council species." Murmurs of shock and anger spread through the hall. "On what grounds?" Dae-Hyun asked, struggling to keep his voice level. A third alien, with features like flowing water constantly changing shape, answered, "Your species is too violent, too emotional, too unpredictable. Your lifespans are extremely short, limiting your capacity for long-term thinking. Your bodies are fragile. Your technology is primitive. Your societies are divided." "We have come very far in a short time," Subin protested. "Given access to more advanced knowledge, we could—" "That is precisely what concerns us," interrupted Marixus. "Your rapid advancement without proper evolutionary stability makes you potentially dangerous. In a few centuries, we will reassess." With that, the council members turned and walked back to their ship, ignoring further questions shouted by humans. Within minutes, the vessel had risen and vanished into the sky. In the stunned silence that followed, Dae-Hyun stood alone on the steps of the UN building. Around him, he could see the shock and humiliation on the faces of his fellow humans. News. Anchors were already reporting on the Great Dismissal, as some were calling it. That evening, as global leaders argued about how to respond, Dae-Hyun sat in his hotel room looking at the stars. His phone rang. It was President Lee. They mocked. Us today, the president said without preamble, but they also revealed something important. What's that, sir? Asked Dae-hyun. They fear what we might become, and that means we have potential they recognize but don't want to admit. Dae-hyun smiled for the first time since the aliens had departed. What are you suggesting? I'm appointing you director of the New Earth Advancement Initiative. We'll show those council members what humans can do when we're underestimated. Dae-hyun looked back at the night sky. They think we need centuries. Let's show them what humanity can do in a decade. 10 years had passed since the Galactic Council dismissed Earth as unworthy. In that time, much had changed. Deep beneath the mountains of Wyoming, Director Dae-hyun Kim stood in the massive underground chamber, watching as workers swarmed around the gleaming hull of what would become humanity's first true starship. You're early today, said Dr. Minji Park, approaching with a tablet in hand. Her hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, dark circles under her eyes, speaking of another sleepless night. Couldn't sleep, Dae-hyun admitted. The Council's monitoring satellite passes overhead in 6 hours. Everything needs to be perfect, Minji nodded. The holographic projectors are ready. They'll see exactly what we want them to see, a primitive species still nursing its wounded pride. What the Council didn't know, what humanity had kept hidden for a decade, was that their brief visit had triggered the greatest period of technological advancement in human history. Nations that once aimed weapons at each other now worked together, united by a common goal to prove the aliens wrong. Have you seen the latest test results? Minji asked, handing him the tablet. Dae-hyun scrolled through the data, his eyes widening. These energy readings can't be right. They are, Minji smiled. We've done it. The quantum displacement drive works even better than we hoped. It's twice as efficient as anything the Council races use. How is that possible? Their technology is ancient, unchanged for millennia. They've grown complacent. When we analyzed the energy signature from their ship, we found inefficiencies they've never bothered to correct. In another part of the facility, Dr. Ha-Joon Lee carefully examined a piece of shimmering metal under a microscope. The sample had been taken from the landing pad where the Council ship had touched down 10 years ago, microscopic particles left behind when they departed. Incredible, he murmured. The molecular structure is unlike anything we've seen. His assistant Soo-min looked up from her computer. We've completed the analysis. It's a compound of elements, including one that doesn't appear on our periodic table. Ha-Joon straightened. Can we synthesize it? Better, Soo-min grinned. We found it naturally occurring in the deep-sea vents near Indonesia. Earth has the largest deposit in this sector of the galaxy, according to the Council data we accessed. This discovery had been their first real breakthrough. The rare element, which they named terrestrium, was considered valuable throughout the galaxy. The Council races had no idea Earth contained it in abundance. Elsewhere in the complex, General Ji-woo Park inspected rows of sleek combat suits. Unlike the bulky exoskeletons of a decade ago, these were elegant, form-fitting and incorporated technologies reversed engineered from the brief glimpses humanity had gotten of alien tech. How many are ready? He asked the project lead. 500, sir. Another 1,000 by month's end. And the pilots? Training continuously in the simulators. Their reaction times are improving daily. Ji-woo nodded approvingly. The combat suits were just one part of Earth's silent preparation. In orbit, disguised as communication satellites and space junk, components for a defensive grid waited to be activated. Spread across Earth's remote locations, launch facilities stood ready, hidden from Council observers by clever holographic technology. In his office, Dae-hyun reviewed the latest intelligence report. The Council continued to ignore Earth, confident in their assessment of humanity as primitive and unworthy. Their arrogance would be their downfall. His phone rang. "Director Kim," he answered. "Sir," came the excited voice of Dr. Yu-Na Choi from the Deep Space Monitoring Station in Antarctica. "We've detected it. The scout ship is early." Dae-hyun tensed. "How early?" 3 days, sir. It will enter our solar system tomorrow. This wasn't part of the plan. The Council wasn't due to check on Earth for another month. They weren't ready yet. "Alert all stations," Dae-hyun ordered. Activate Protocol Silent Shield. No one makes a move unless I give the order. As he hung up, Dae-hyun felt a strange mix of fear and anticipation. For 10 years they had prepared in secret, building technologies the Council believed were centuries, beyond human capability. Now they would find out if it had been enough. They've underestimated us once, he murmured, looking at the global map showing hidden human facilities across the planet. They won't make that mistake again. The silent preparation was over. The real test was about to begin. Captain Jun-ho Lee stood on the bridge of the Earthship Pathfinder, watching as the blue-green planet of Tau Ceti E grew larger on the main screen. 5 years had passed since the scout ship incident, when humanity revealed just enough of their technology to make the Council nervous, but not enough to provoke an attack. "Beautiful, isn't it?" asked Science Officer Hyejin Kim, joining him at the viewport. The Council classified this world as uninhabitable due to radiation levels. Jun-ho smiled. "And our radiation shields?" "Operating at 96% efficiency. We'll be able to establish a colony with no problems." This was the 12th world humanity had claimed, in the 3 years since they began their silent expansion into space. The Council races had dismissed these planets as worthless or too difficult to colonize. Their oversight was humanity's gain. "Sir," called the communications officer, "incoming transmission from Director Kim." Dae-hyun's face appeared on the screen, older now, but his eyes still sharp with purpose. "Captain Lee, how does our new home look?" "Green and welcoming, sir. The survey team is preparing to descend." "Excellent. I have news from Earth. The mining operation in the Pacific has exceeded expectations. We now have enough terrestrium to outfit the next 30 ships." Jun-ho nodded. The rare element found in Earth's deep ocean trenches had proven invaluable, allowing them to build ships faster and more powerful than anyone had thought possible. "What about the Council?" he asked. "Still oblivious," Dae-hyun replied. "Their quarterly check-in shows they believe we're decades away from leaving our solar system. The holographic projections are working perfectly." After the transmission ended, Jun-ho prepared to lead the first landing party. As his shuttle descended, through the atmosphere of their new colony world, he thought about how far humanity had come. 10 years ago, the Council had laughed at Earth. Now humans had a secret foothold in 12 star systems, with more colonies being established each month. On the planet's surface, Jun-ho watched as prefabricated habitat units were unloaded from the cargo shuttles. Within days, the first human settlement on Tau Ceti E would be operational. Unlike the Council races, who required years to establish colonies, humans had perfected rapid deployment techniques. "Captain," called his second-in-command, "you need to see this." Jun-ho followed her to a ridge overlooking a valley where the HFY survey team had made an unexpected discovery: ruins of an ancient structure, clearly artificial but not made by human hands. "Is it Council?" he asked. "No, sir. The dating puts it at least 50,000 years old, long before any current Council race achieved spaceflight." This was a significant find. According to the data they'd managed to access from Council archives, the galaxy's history before the rise of the current dominant species was largely unknown. "Secure the site. I want our archaeologists here immediately." 3 days later, as Jun-ho reviewed the preliminary findings in his temporary office, an alarm sounded throughout the colony. "Unidentified vessels approaching the system," reported the tactical officer. 3 ships, Zentari configuration. The Zentari were one of the Council races that had been most dismissive of humanity. If they discovered this colony, Earth's secret expansion would be exposed before they were ready. "Initiate silent protocol," Jun-ho ordered. "Power down all non-essential systems and activate the distortion field." The technology, developed by Dr. Minji Park, bent light around the colony, making it invisible to standard sensors. The colonists waited in tense silence as the Zentari ships entered orbit. "They're scanning the surface," whispered the tactical officer. Minutes stretched into hours as the alien vessels methodically surveyed the planet. Finally, they moved on, apparently finding nothing of interest. Once they were gone, Jun-ho contacted Earth. "Director Kim, we've had our first close call. Zentari ships. Did they detect you?" "No, but it was close. They're expanding their patrol routes. We need to accelerate our timetable." Dae-hyun nodded grimly. Agreed, it's time for Phase 2, the Alliance of Independent Worlds. 2 weeks later, Junho welcomed a delegation from the Navarians, a species that, like humanity, had been deemed unworthy by the Council. Their representatives were tall with iridescent skin and 4 arms, but their eyes held the same determination Junho recognized in his fellow humans. "You understand," said the Navarian ambassador, "that if the Council discovers our alliance, they will act swiftly against us all." Junho nodded. "That's why we must grow stronger quickly. Together we can develop technologies neither of us could create alone." As the Navarians toured the colony, Junho looked up at the stars. The Council had mocked humanity, thinking them confined to their home planet for centuries to come. They couldn't have been more wrong. Humanity was already among the stars, building a network of worlds and allies that would one day challenge the Council's dominance. The expansion had begun. The emergency alarm blared throughout the Alliance headquarters on Tau Ceti E Director. Taehyun Kim, now in his 70s with silver hair but still sharp-eyed, rushed into the control center. "Report," he commanded. Fleet Admiral Minji Park pointed to the main display. "Massive stellar disturbance in the galactic core. A chain reaction of supernovas has begun. Our long-range sensors show at least 6 Council worlds in the direct path." The room fell silent. After 15 years of secret expansion, the human-led Alliance of Independent Worlds now included 5 species and controlled 37 star systems. They had managed to remain hidden from the Council, building their strength and developing technologies that now surpassed their former mockers. "How long until the radiation wave reaches the Council worlds?" Daehyun asked. 72 hours. For the closest planet, Arcturian Prime. They don't have enough time to evacuate their population with their ships. Daehyun studied the data. The Arcturians had been the most condescending during first contact, dismissing humans as primitive and emotional. Now millions of their people faced destruction. "What are the Council doing?" he asked. "Scrambling. Their evacuation ships can only save about 20% of the populations. They're prioritizing government officials and the wealthy." Daehyun shook his head. "Of course they are." He turned to face the representatives of the Alliance species gathered in the room. The tall, 4-armed Navarians, the insectoid Pelirians, the aquatic Marisi, and the crystalline Vex. "I know we plan to reveal ourselves to the Council next year, on our own terms, but this crisis changes everything." The Navarian ambassador clicked her mandibles. "You're suggesting we help them? The same Council that declared all our species unworthy?" "Yes," Daehyun said simply. "Not because they deserve it, but because it's the right thing to do." After a brief debate, the Alliance reached consensus. Daehyun gave the order. "Deploy the fleets, all ships with quantum displacement. Shields are to head to the affected Council worlds immediately." Across Alliance space, hundreds of vessels began jumping to faster-than-light travel. Unlike the specialized Council ships, Alliance vessels were versatile, designed for multiple functions, a necessity born from the limited resources of rejected species working together. Captain Sungmin Cho stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship Horizon as it dropped out of hyperspace near Arcturian Prime. The planet below was beautiful, covered in purple oceans and golden continents. On the view screen, dozens of Arcturian ships were attempting to evacuate the planet, creating a chaotic traffic jam in orbit. "They're hailing us," said his communications officer. The face of an Arcturian appeared on screen, his pearlescent skin flushed with stress. "Unknown vessel, this space is under emergency protocols. Depart immediately or—" He stopped, his eyes widening. "You're human?" "I am Captain Sungmin Cho of the Alliance ship Horizon. We've come to help with the evacuation." The Arcturian stared in disbelief. "Impossible. Humans don't possess interstellar travel, and even if you did, your ships couldn't survive the radiation from the supernovas." "Things have changed," Sungmin said simply. "We have a fleet of 500 vessels approaching. We can evacuate your entire population before the radiation wave hits." While the Arcturian officials sputtered in confusion, Sungmin ordered his ships to begin landing at major population centers. Similar scenes played out at 5 other threatened Council worlds as Alliance ships arrived to offer rescue. On Arcturian Prime, Sung-min personally led a team to the planetary capital. He found himself face to face with High Counselor Verix, the very same Arcturian who had mocked humanity at first contact 20 years ago. "How?" Verix asked, his voice barely a whisper, as he watched human crews efficiently directing the evacuation. "How did your species achieve this level of technology so quickly?" "You gave us something valuable when you visited Earth," Sung-min replied, "a burning desire to prove you wrong." As the evacuation proceeded, news spread throughout Council space. Humans, the primitive, emotional species they had dismissed, had somehow developed advanced technology and were now rescuing Council worlds. In the Alliance Command Center, Dae-hyun watched the reports coming in. "All evacuations proceeding on schedule. We'll have everyone off the threatened worlds with 12 hours to spare." Minji joined him at the display. "The Council is in an uproar. Their entire understanding of galactic power has been shattered in a single day." "Good," Dae-hyun said. "Perhaps now they'll listen when we call for a meeting of all species, Council and non-Council alike." As the radiation wave from the supernovas approached, Alliance ships carried millions of Council citizens to safety. The rescue mission succeeded beyond all expectations, saving not just lives, but transforming humanity's place in the galaxy. The crisis point had come, but not as anyone had expected. And when it passed, nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again. The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly gleamed under the light of 3 suns. Built on a neutral planet at the border of Alliance and Council space, the massive structure represented something new in the galaxy, a place where all spacefaring species could meet as equals. Dae-hyun Kim, now 80 years old, walked slowly toward the central podium. His body had aged, but his mind remained sharp. Behind him, representatives from over 200 worlds filled the chamber, their voices a mix of different languages and sounds. 5 years had passed since the supernova crisis. 5 years of difficult negotiations, tense meetings, and gradual understanding between the Alliance and the Council races. Today would mark the official beginning of a new era. As Dae-hyun reached the podium, the hall fell silent. Many of the aliens present had never seen a human in person before the rescue mission. Now they watched with respect as this elderly human prepared to address them. 25 years ago, Dae-hyun began, his voice carried clearly through the hall's perfect acoustics. "A ship from the Galactic Council landed on Earth. They judged my species as primitive, emotional, and unworthy of joining galactic society." He paused, looking directly at the Arcturian delegation. High Counselor Verix sat among them, his pearlescent skin flushed with what humans had learned was embarrassment. "The Council was wrong about humanity," Dae-hyun continued. "But they were also wrong about the Nevarians, the Pelirians, the Marisi, the Vex, and dozens of other species they dismissed. Together, we formed the Alliance of Independent Worlds and developed in secret, until circumstance revealed us." On the huge display behind him, images appeared showing the human-led rescue fleets evacuating Council worlds during the supernova crisis. The old system of judgment and exclusion failed the galaxy. When disaster struck, it was the rejected species who saved millions of lives. Today we propose something new, a galactic assembly where all spacefaring species have an equal voice. A murmur ran through the crowd. For thousands of years, the Council had controlled galactic politics, technology sharing, and trade routes. Now they were being asked to share power with species they had once considered inferior. Verix rose from his seat, his forearms making the formal gesture of respect. "Director Kim speaks truth that is difficult for us to hear. The Council system proved inadequate during the crisis. The humans and their alliance saved my homeworld when we could not save ourselves." He moved to stand beside Dae-hyun at the podium. "I propose that Director Kim be named the first High Representative of the new Galactic Assembly." The nomination sent a wave of surprise through the hall. Never before had a species so new to interstellar travel been given such a position. After the vote was tallied, Dae-hyun stood again, now officially the first human to lead a galactic government. "Our first act must be to end the classification of species as worthy or unworthy," he said. "The strength of our galaxy lies in our differences, not in forcing everyone to follow the same path. Later that evening, Daehyun stood on the observation deck of the new assembly building looking out at the stars. Minji Park joined him, her once black hair now white, her face lined with age, but her eyes still bright. "Did you ever imagine this day would come?" she asked. "When you were standing there watching the council ship leave Earth, did you think we would end up here?" Daehyun smiled. "I knew we would prove them wrong. I didn't know it would change the galaxy. The council scientists are still trying to understand how we developed quantum displacement technology so quickly," Minji said with a small laugh. "They can't believe we found solutions they missed for millennia." "That was their mistake," Daehyun replied. "They stopped looking for better ways. They believed they had all the answers." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Jun-Ho Lee, now Admiral of the Alliance Fleet. "Sorry to disturb you, but we've received an urgent message from the deep space monitoring stations." He handed Daehyun a datapad. "Something is approaching from beyond the galactic rim. Its energy signature doesn't match anything in our records." Daehyun studied the readings. "Have the Council ever encountered anything like this?" "No," Jun-Ho said. "They're as puzzled as we are. Whatever it is, it's massive, and it's heading directly for our galaxy." As the three humans looked at the data, representatives from other species began to join them. Arcturians, Zentari, Navarians, and others, all drawn by the news of this unknown phenomenon. 25 years ago, we stood alone," Daehyun said quietly. "Now, whatever this new challenge is, we face it together." He looked around at the gathering of diverse species, former enemies and friends alike. The Council had mocked humanity, but that mockery had sparked a transformation that changed the galaxy forever. As the representatives of 100 worlds began discussing how to meet this new challenge, Daehyun felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Humanity had not just proven the Council wrong, they had helped create something better in its place. The stars no longer represented distant, unreachable points of light. They were humanity's home now, part of a galactic community that was stronger together than any species could be alone.